We're on the same
When I
side.
woke up this morning, I was feeling pretty dangerous.
One about the past and one about the future.
Just have your top 5 targets.
Can we do top 5 targets and people we're avoiding as
Yes.
well? All right, okay. Because I know who my number 1 is for sure.
For avoiding?
Yes, because of where he's going, and it is absurd.
It better not be Baker Mayfield. You're going to upset him.
No,
I'm avoiding Baker.
I like him too. I just,
I've seen him go in like round 7.
I've seen him. Yeah, that's the thing. He's gone.
He's all
from
over the place.
5th, 6th round to because some of the ECRs have him lower, so people forget. That's the big thing with ECR is that if they have him at 132, it takes the effort to go ahead and find him and pull him up and be like, I want this guy in this round.
Okay, and then when we're saying who we're targeting in the draft, we're not going to be like, oh, Saquon. Like, yeah, no shit, dude.
Yeah.
Like, great philosophy there. No, like, what you're getting at the value you're getting them. That's when you really win fantasy. But one of the most important tips I can give about fantasy football, you never win your team at the draft, ever. So, like, your team... Waiver wires, trades, everything like that. Like, you're just constructing the core of your team. Like, it's never going to be as good as you think it is after the draft. Like, but that's when these people that we're bringing up now are the most important ones, other than your first 2 picks.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, you guys want to go? Who wants to go first on this? You want me to go first? Or?
You can go first. You can start off.
My one of my top ones. I'm going to start from like kind of the bottom area, or mid round area, which Anthony Miller, who
Damn, he was one of mine too. I'm serious.
when was he like towards the top or lower end?
Well, because he's going like
going
round
late.
12.
Yeah, it's weird that people give so much love for Pettis, and I still like Pettis, and he's also on my list.
I think that has to do with Garoppolo, though.
Yeah.
Like, I think
also
they're...
Allen Robinson. Is that
Okay.
Anthony Miller's on the same team as Allen Robinson, and I think some
Right.
people are expecting a bounce back from Allen Robinson, forgetting that Anthony Miller had 7 touchdowns last year and is a ridiculously good route runner and can get vertical. Like he reminds me of Stephon Diggs.
He had
like,
7
straight up.
touchdowns last year.
Yeah.
But also, I think another thing, too, that people are down on him for is Trubisky.
Oh, absolutely.
Trubisky already has bad news coming out about him in camp because, like, he looks inconsistent. He's having trouble making his reads, and which is why Allen Robinson is going super late, too. You got guys like Taylor Gabriel there, and Anthony Miller did just get hurt last week in practice. Minor, though. Like, he's not going to miss any time. But all the talent is there.
Yeah.
And I feel like he's going to get overlooked by defenses as well because he's not getting the number 1 and sometimes number 2 look on defense. And he balled out last year, and I think he can this year as well, especially with an improved running game. Like, he's going to have his moments for sure.
Also, Nagy tends to scheme guys open very well. Like, he's another guy who it's like, well, we're going with Anthony Miller on this. We're going to get him going. We're going to go ahead and do some jet sweeps. We're going to get somebody on motion. He runs a lot out of the slot. And again, Trubisky seems to really target his slot receivers a lot. And even when they were running Allen Robinson, his best games last year were out of the slot. He was almost playing like a big slot role initially. So with Anthony Miller, I think he's got great athleticism. He's going several rounds later than Allen Robinson. I'm more willing to take the flyer on Anthony Miller than I am to take it on Allen Robinson.
I've drafted him a lot in these mocks that I've been doing, and all of them are after round 10 every single time.
Yeah, he falls down the list pretty quickly. And again, like out of the 2 guys that I really like coming out of last year, it was Anthony Miller and Dante Pettis. Both are ridiculously good route runners, but different types of route runners. One guy's a lot smoother, and the other one's kind of a more quick, hard cut kind of guy. Kind of like the difference between actually 2 teammates who I compare these guys to, Adam Thielen and Stephon Diggs. Both are great route runners, totally different style.
Yep.
And I just think that Anthony Miller has a elite athleticism to go along with that. That is similar to Diggs and Thielen. Now I think Dante Pettis is way more athletic than Thielen, though. But
yeah, I agree.
So, did you have another one, or do you have one?
What, for like, for who we're targeting? Well, the first one that I like to bring up is Carryon Johnson.
Carryon Johnson.
I'd be very comfortable if he was my number 2 running back, assuming in the first round I try to get one of those real top-tier running backs, like maybe a Saquon Barkley. If you have the first-round pick, I think he's the consensus overall. But to some people, you never know. Gronkowski went number 1 in a couple leagues I was in last year, so just for frame of reference of knowing the league you're in. But I was in 17 leagues. No, but I started. So Carryon Johnson is my guy, and I think this is the year he takes that next step. He's also shown the ability. They get him involved in the passing game. He seems like a complete running back. I liked him coming out of college. I wish he would have gotten more opportunities last year. She would have stayed a little bit healthier, stayed on the field. But I think we see the big jump. And also because I really thought Amir Abdullah was going to be the guy a couple years ago, and I just want to be right with
Another
this
guy
team.
with fumble issues.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, there's an example.
What round are you willing to take Carryon in? Because he's going in that third, sometimes even late second round
Third.
range.
I would be willing to take him in the third. I mean, it again, if I start to see a run on running backs earlier than that,
You're going to this year.
yeah, it's I don't know that I would take him in the second. I don't know that.
Even late second or no?
It depends on, look, if there's one of those stud receivers there, like another guy that I'm targeting, I don't mean to segue right into another one because I'm just stealing everyone's thunder, but Juju Smith-Schuster is my guy that I think is a number 3 receiver this year. I think it's arguable that it's Hopkins, Michael Thomas, and Juju, and maybe Julio right behind them, I believe, this year. And that's how high I am on Juju. So if Juju is there in the second round, and so is Carryon Johnson, I'm taking Juju. I mean, I've always been a receiver-heavy guy. I'm trying to change up my style a little bit because it hasn't worked for me too much in the past. But I'm also comfortable with the fact that maybe people won't be going so high on Carryon Johnson. So,
well, he's coming off of an injury. There's a lot of other guys getting a lot of hype, but he's still going in that second to third round range, and I think that's fair. I think that's the end of the second. I'm willing to take him, especially if I don't see somebody in that third. Like I see a lot more receivers falling into that third round range. I'm way more likely to take Carryon Johnson because I know there's going to, especially if at the end of the second round, you have a third-round pick that's coming up soon.
yes.
It's all kind of based off of where you are. Carryon Johnson, to me, is probably good in that area. I wouldn't take, you're not taking him top 15, though. No. So, did you have another one or you want, because
Marcus Mari. No, I'm just fucking around.
For the record, Juju, I would consider taking top 15.
so there-
He's
all right.
going top 15
Yeah.
a lot. But no, one guy I love to look for because he's going late, like round 8-ish, Tevin Coleman.
Tevin Coleman?
Yes, he's reunited with Kyle Shanahan, who he was played under in Atlanta and thrived in a backup role. Jerick McKinnon is hurt again, so Coleman is going to be considered to be the number 1 back. Yes, he's going to have to take split touches with Matt Breida sometimes. All right, or when McKinnon comes back healthy.
They'll get over that.
Yeah, like he's not going to lose significant time to Burrito. And then not only that, but he's a very good pass catching back, as you've seen in the Atlanta offense that Shanahan constructed, in a team that has more receiving options now than they have in a while, and a good quarterback coming back, albeit from injury. It's still somebody I believe in. But Tevin Coleman, he's going later than he should. I wouldn't want him as my running back 1, but if I can have him as my running back 2 or even my flex option, that means I have 2 really good wide receivers and a really good running back. And I just think the value he gives you as a runner and a catcher is just phenomenal in a good offense, what should be a good offense that he knows. Because that's usually the knock on people when they come to a Shanahan team is it takes him a while to learn that offense when he already knows it. I feel like he's going to have a really good year for fantasy and actuality. So
I like him more as a pass catcher than I do a runner. Like he seems to have vision issues sometimes and will run into his blockers a lot. And not in that
also because Atlanta had a hard time creating holes for people to run through as well.
Well, when Shanahan was there, even when he was coordinating, they were like last year. Yeah, they had a hard time with getting holes open because their O line seemed to have taken a step back towards the end of the year, and people age out. But even earlier on, he seemed to have vision issues. Now maybe it'll clear up. Maybe being in Shanahan's offense again and having
Get some new contacts.
Yeah, maybe that's true. Yeah, or gets glasses.
Yeah,
Maybe he
LASIK.
doesn't even have. Yeah,
Yeah, he was LASIK. I mean, hey, it's
Podcast
2019.
is brought to you by Lenscraft. Use promo code Draftvice.
So next guy I have up on my list is Carson Wentz. I feel like he's kind of going he's going in that 9 range, but like instead of instead of spending an earlier pick on Baker Mayfield or a much earlier pick on Deshaun Watson, like Deshaun Watson's going top 5 rounds.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's insane.
And Mahomes is going top 3.
Mahomes.
So why not take the flyer on the guy who was a number 1 quarterback 2 years ago
MVP
and is going later
consideration.
than those guys, and is athletic and has the most ridiculous amount of weapons around him. Like is on a he's got again Miles Sanders we were talking about earlier. He's also gonna he's got J.J. Arcega-Whiteside who they just drafted as well.
I hate that guy.
Are we elaborating, or are we just gonna just keep going on?
Well, I'm an Oregon fan, and he destroyed us last year.
I just thought you were at a bar and he wasn't very nice.
I mean, you were in California for a bit, so you never know.
I was Southern California though.
Okay.
I might have fucked his sister.
But he also has Alshon Jeffrey still. They got Deshaun Jackson, Nelson Aguilar. Like, that receiving core is deep.
You're also forgetting 2 talented tight ends in Ertz and Goddard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Ertz, man.
if Dallas didn't have Ertz on his
Well,
team...
not both of them, but I mean, especially Ertz.
Oh, yeah.
If Ertz wasn't there, Dallas would be like an elite tight end that people would be drafting in the top 6 rounds this year.
Yeah.
But they also said that about Trey Burton. But
They did.
Well, I think that was more of a hype thing, that he had that fill-in role. But actually watching Trey Burton was kind of like still a move tight end. Dallas Goedert can play all 3 spots. I can play as a blocking tight end, can be down on every down. The question is when are they going to eventually move on from Ertz, if they ever do, because he's still got a long contract ahead of him. So, I just like Carson Wentz. I think that there's a lot of opportunity there for him to be the number 1 quarterback.
Yeah.
And when you're not taking him in the top 7 or 8 rounds, you're getting depth at other positions.
Yep.
Yeah.
The only problem, too, is that you see in drafts is Mahomes and Watson are going to go early, but when like that round 7 or 8 comes around and guys like Matt Ryan and Cam Newton start coming off the board, then everybody realizes, oh shit, quarterbacks are going, and then like that.
It goes on a run.
Yeah.
Monkey see, monkey do. And you almost have no choice but to join in because the 5 other guys, 5 other guys are doing the same thing, and you're like, wait, I'm not going to get the guy that I had valued there, or maybe that if you were targeting this person.
But that's where it comes down to, like, if you're knowing your board and knowing your draft and saying, you know what, it's not worth taking Carson Wentz in the 6th round. It's not worth taking him in the 7th round because I can get player X, Y, Z. I could probably get Miles Sanders if people are going on a weird quarterback run straight through, and the replacement value that you're going to get out of a guy later on, say Lamar Jackson, Tom Brady, like even like the most basic, and Lamar Jackson could easily go because he's a running quarterback, can end up being a lot better than what he's being drafted at. He's
Yeah, I
more
saw
of a late round guy than anything else.
I've seen people actually had him a lot higher than I thought because of that. I'm assuming they're going to have a lot in the playbook for him running primarily.
Well, also
if they want to win,
he's got Greg Rome as his offensive coordinator, who was the offensive coordinator for Tyrod Taylor, Colin Kaepernick, and those guys had like great fantasy years when they had the same offensive coordinator. So I can understand people going for Lamar Jackson later on. I would now again another guy who I wouldn't take.
this isn't one of your targets, though.
No,
let's
it's
just
not.
make that very clear before
not one of my
people shut this
targets.
off.
Yeah.
But no, because I can't put a Baltimore Raven as a target.
Really?
No.
Unless it's for a shooting. I'm just joking. Not my words.
But knowing the value of those players is important, even for targets, guys who you go, maybe I take him a round earlier than he's going. I'm not taking him 3 rounds earlier. Like I was saying before, Carryon Johnson being a target, are you willing to take him maybe a little bit earlier than he's technically going?
I just want to make a note. This guy's not one of my targets, but like I was thinking about Baltimore Ravens that I would target. I do like Mark Andrews. I just don't like his situation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I don't expect Lamar Jackson to be throwing him a whole bunch of touchdown passes, but I do like his skill set.
Yeah.
I think on another team, I wouldn't even hesitate to put him in my targets of list. I mean,
doesn't it suck that a lot of these teams seem to have more than one tight end, but then you can't like trust them? Like
right
with the Eagles, they have the 2 that you can't trust,
Yep.
and now you're not going to be able to trust Dallas until Ertz is gone, and you can't trust Mark Andrews.
and they have like 17 tight ends.
yeah,
too.
no, they,
Yeah, they have like
it's
that
all
Max
tight ends.
Williams and that other dude. I don't remember his name. You know what? He's got the long red hair.
Yeah. They also run the ball 132 times a game.
Correct.
It's fucking insane.
But Mark Andrews was efficient when he was there.
Yo,
Last year.
did you guys ever see the thing? I thought it was fake until I tried it. If you Google Lamar Jackson can throw, Google says, did you mean Lamar Jackson can't throw? It is hilarious.
That's amazing.
No, I did not hear about that one.
I want him to be good. I did like him in college, but I just, from what I've seen so far, unless, it doesn't seem to be trending in that direction where he'd be making that adjustment. But I'm not, I'm just some guy.
So who's either one of yours next target?
So I've said 2 people already.
All right.
You've said what, 1?
Yeah, I'm going to stick with San Francisco and the quarterback discussion. I'm going to go Jimmy Garoppolo. He is, unless you're in a 2 QB league, a lot of the times I've seen some mock drafts, he doesn't even get drafted.
Yeah.
He is going after guys like Lamar Jackson, Kyler Murray, Kirk Cousins, Dak Prescott. He's going after a lot of these guys. And because there's still a lot of question marks that come with Garoppolo, because he had that really good second half season in 2017 when he went to San Fran, and that got him a lot of hype where he was getting drafted super early last year. And then he would have a good game here, an okay game there. It seemed like he was struggling to fit into the offense, but he was still performing. Then he got hurt for the whole season.
Yeah.
And now does he know the offense yet? Is he going to be better after this injury? He's got a lot of brand new wide receivers who are young, talented, but young. And it's like there's a lot of unsure in Garoppolo, but I'm pretty sure because he's an intellectual quarterback. And I can guarantee you, even though he was hurt, he was studying that playbook with Shanahan. He was sitting down with Shanahan talking about it. They've got good pieces around him. George Kittle's the best tight end in the NFL right now.
Word.
Dante Pettis, you guys talked about him earlier. I'm not so sure how he's going to be because he's still getting a lot of preseason work, which tells me he hasn't solidified his spot yet. Marquise Goodwin is coming back, who Garoppolo was in love with in 2017. You got Debo Samuel there now.
I like him.
And Jalen Hurd.
Jalen Hurd.
He's actually been playing really well in the preseason.
Right. And like a good enough running situation, an improved offensive line, what should be a better defense, so they're not going to just have to sling it in hopes anymore. But I just feel like for the value you can get him at, because you can get him so late, and you're going to have – if you go late on quarterback, that means your skill positions are going to be rostered very well. And even if you want to take him as a QB2 possibly, that's good bench depth, or even as your QB1. He does have an early bye week. It's week 4. But I'm a big believer in a Shanahan offense that has a talented quarterback, which he is, regardless of what you want to say. And for the value, I'm loving where he's going.
And I'll follow up on that just because I completely agree. Like, just to put it this way, if he was my QB1, I wouldn't even be worried. I'm like, this is fine. This is absolutely fine. Because this is also my strategy. I don't value quarterbacks that high. I usually, half the times, the guys that I draft, I end up starting the guys that I picked up off the waiver wire anyway.
Yeah.
So.
Especially at quarterback. I've had a couple of years where I know I was playing the guy who I didn't draft.
Yeah. No, exactly. But I think that he does the right things. He has the ability to execute those things and put them into practice. And he's got the coach that will be on him about that as well and create opportunities for them. So,
and the best receiving talent around him since he's been there.
Correct. I mean, that's why I'm saying that, like, just to piggyback off of what you were saying, QB1, he would be my QB1. I would have no problem with that.
Yeah.
I would be very confident with my team going in.
He adapted to Shanahan's offense really quickly.
And he's basically free. He's going he's going that round right before defenses start to fly off the board.
Right.
So we're down to each other's third.
Yeah.
Do you got it? Or?
Yeah, I got. Well, so you guys aren't going to be shocked by this one, but a big one on mine is Nick Chubb. And this is a guy who I'm willing to take top of the second round, like a round higher than a lot of the spots are taking. And now he's going higher again too.
Because Duke Johnson got traded.
But I don't even think that that didn't really change anything, because if you watch the Browns last year, which not a lot of people,
you were always a believer in him.
Nick Chubb, yeah. Well, because they didn't utilize Duke Johnson when he was there last year, so why would I think that Duke Johnson was going to really affect Nick Chubb?
Yeah.
Now the question comes down to, I know a lot of people are worried because they don't know about the situation with Kareem Hunt. Now, if Nick Chubb is a bust, he's a bust either way. But that means if they made it 10 weeks and the guy who's been lugging the mail has been good the whole time, are you really going to take him out and be like, yeah, we're going to stick the new guy in? Guy who, yeah, we like him, but that's because we signed him to a cheap contract and we're going to get control over his rights for the next 2 years.
Yeah, and I think Nick Chubb could put him out of work. I just think that last year it was frustrating not even having him on the team, seeing the fact they were kind of going back and forth with like Hyde and like it just use Nick Chubb.
Yeah.
He's fine. He performs
he's
well when he's in
exponentially better
there. I think
than
you had
Hyde.
both of them on your team or something. I remember.
Yeah, I was
And
targeting him everywhere I could last year.
I'm sure it was frustrating. Not being, if they didn't play Nick Chubb at the right, they didn't give him the certain amount of carries he needed in that game. I mean, but even with little ones that he did, he would pop, and put up a good amount of points.
What was the thing? I think he did 3 carries in the Oakland Raiders game,
Yep.
and he got like 150 yards and 2 touchdowns.
I know. I remember seeing that and being like, what?
So for me, I like Nick Chubb. I think a lot of the arguments against him, the one argument I actually have against him is the knee thing that we were talking about earlier about with the Georgia running backs. I actually do worry about the knee a little bit, but I don't worry about that as much as like there hasn't been an issue recently.
Yeah.
So I'm not as worried about it than say because he's played a few years since that injury.
Right.
But my worry with Kareem Hunt is, if he sucks, then Kareem Hunt's going to come in and take the workload. But he'd have to suck first. And the other worry I do have with Nick Chubb is the offensive line. And they've had a couple of question marks there with the offensive line. But he's even gotten better as a pass catcher, so he's getting balls out of the backfield. There was one ball he caught last year where he caught it on the next guy's head behind him and goes into the end zone for a touchdown. Like, I have no worries with him as a pass catcher, as a running back, as a 3-down back. So my worry with him is 2 things. The offensive line, potential slight red flag for the injury, but not really because he hasn't had any issues with it. And the offensive line's a real question, and it seems like they're trying to get it sorted out, but they still have the right guard spot to figure out. But it's the same issue. But I'm looking at him in the same spot I'm looking at Joe Mixon, and I have a hard time differentiating which one I want to take. Now I saw Joe Mixon behind a bad offensive line last year, and he still played pretty well. But he's now even on a worse offensive line, so there's questions with that.
And a worse offense in general.
Well, they're not going to have A.J. Green to start the year, but they didn't have A.J. Green at the end of the year last year either. And he still was productive in games without Cordy Glenn, without Billy Price. Like, he still finds ways to be productive.
Yeah, but like the eye test, he looks good. But I was listening. I'm not going to take credit for looking into this shit. I got not enough time on my hands. But, like, draft analytics, like in-depth ones, he was outside of the bottom 15 in, like, yards after first contact, efficiency with open holes. Like, he had he was outside the top 15 in a lot. So
He didn't have a lot of open holes either though last year. Like, that
but
offensive
even when
line,
he did, he wasn't efficient with them. He was outside of the top 15 is what I'm saying. But
and
that's
yards after first contact can be a little misleading because yard after first contact, if you're getting met in the backfield, you're not getting the chance to speed up. Whereas a guy who's already has wide open holes going through and is at full speed, you can't just take him down with an arm tackle.
No.
So there's certain statistics that when you're like, I weigh them. I weigh them after watching and weigh them with like, okay, I worry more about the offensive line and the run blocking than I do with him being a player because I've seen him play. He's a great pass catcher. He's probably
You're talking Mixon or Chubb right now?
Mixon.
Okay.
Yeah, and honestly, I would have had Mixon on the list, except I didn't feel like I wanted to put 2 guys in the top 15 spot next to each other. So that's why he's not a target of mine. But I see value in Mixon, and that's where I'm lining up is how much more do I have Nick Chubb than Mixon, or how much lower do I have Nick Chubb than Mixon? And I feel just as uncomfortable about Mixon's O-line as I do about Nick Chubb's, but not as much because he still has at least a couple of Pro Bowlers on that O-line, at least one. And one who probably should. J.C. Tretter's still good, too. But they're missing Zeitler. So, who goes at the next one?
I'm going to stick with the running back theme. After Carryon Johnson, I'm targeting Marlon Mack. I've been believing in him for 3 years now that I've been paying attention to him. And I just think that when I look at body control, vision, quickness, and balance, he has all of those things, right? And every year I keep waiting for him to put it together and be that big play threat. He reminds me of Jamal Charles when he was in his prime. I mean, he's kind of a discount Alvin Kamara in some respects. I think he puts it all together this year. And I think he just needs to stay healthy. He needs to stay on the field. They need to scheme up plays for him to get involved more. But I think that those 4 things for a running back are super important to me. 10-yard dash over 40-yard dash in terms of exploding through the hole. I think he has all of that.
A big good thing, too, that he's on a good offense.
Right.
If Luck is healthy, he's on a good offense.
Right, and I think he gets involved in the passing game as well. So,
well, if Mack is healthy, though, too, because Mack was not healthy at all last year. And
that's what I mean.
Yeah.
I'm saying he needs to be healthy. Oh, you're talking about the center.
Oh no. That
What are you talking? I'm talking about Marlon Mack.
yeah. I'm
saying yes.
his
If he needs
issue
to be
is
healthy,
health, though, but he's consistently not been healthy.
I know, and that's what's frustrating me. And this
Yeah.
might be the last hurrah that I have for really believing in this guy. There's some guys that I ride with every year, and they kind of they show flashes and they disappoint. There's other guys that I throw off right away. Like I was high on Mixon, now I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like one and done. But I'm high on Marlon Mack for the third or fourth year in a row, and I'm hoping it pays off finally.
Also, too, before he got injured, if he produced at the same way he was producing, he would have led the league in yards, and it would have been third in touchdowns. So the talent is there, and the opportunity. He just has to be on the field.
And like we were saying with quarterbacks, when I think that Andrew Luck is an elite level quarterback, I think they rise everybody else's stock up around them, particularly their running backs. Yes. Changing audibles, putting them in the right position to succeed, that's important. You know, changing the run call to the left when it was a pass to the right, you know, and it frees up, you know, an unblocked defender for him to take care of, you know, and it's not 2-on-1. You know, little things like that make all the difference in the world.
Shan, you got one?
Evan Engram. He had a disappointing year last year because Eli sucks ass, but Beckham is gone. All right. Saquon's still going to do Saquon things. Shepard is going to be the number one receiving option, but their number two receiving option is going to be, who is it, Latimer? Corey Latimer?
Yeah.
Cody.
What? See, I don't even know his name, right? Like,
he was drafted by the Broncos. That's the only reason I know him.
Or isn't there also Russell Shepard?
Yeah, but he's not. He's like
a special teamer guy. He's not even like a real.
That's what I'm saying. And then Golden Tate's out for the first 4 years or 4 weeks.
Wow, dude. Yeah. They came down hard on
his
him.
His career's over. Yeah. He took all the steroids. No.
That's what he gets for trying to have kids.
Yeah, right? No.
How dare you decide to try to use these drugs to go ahead and have children?
Didn't he learn from John Jones?
Dude, no. Or Anderson Silva. But, like...
that damn Cialis.
Evan Ingram's basically just a huge wide receiver. Like, he plays out of the tight end spot, but he's a pass-catching, predominantly tight end. He does have some drop issues, but I feel like he's going to get a lot of targets, much more this year, with the way defenses are going to scheme around Saquon. I think he has a lot of opportunity and talent to match. Even if Eli does get pulled and they bring in Daniel Jones already targets tight end a lot, as we've seen in camp and preseason, which is a very, very common thing for a rookie quarterback to do. And I just think he's young, he's talented, he's athletic as hell, and I just feel like he's going to have a top 5 tight end year this year.
Yeah, and I don't disagree in terms of his physical ability. You know, you stack him up there in shorts with everybody with the same quarterback and whatnot. I think he's, you know, he fits right in. But I'm more comfortable, to be honest, with Daniel Jones playing than I am with Eli Manning, because I think Eli Manning is sliding. And I'm not high on Daniel Jones, but I just mean that rookie quarterbacks falling on the tight end. I know, but rookie quarterbacks falling on the tight end, I think that if Daniel Jones was announced the starter, I'd be a little more comfortable with Evan Engram. But I think that so much of their play does have to do with the quarterback, and I am not on the Eli Manning bandwagon in the least bit.
Yeah, no. But tight end is just one of those things, too, that I'm not comfortable. Like, you're going to be extremely comfortable with Kelsey, Ertz, or Kittle, right? But then outside of that, you're kind of like, oof. Like, you're really hoping for the best in that situation. But I don't want to spend draft capital on Kelsey, Ertz, or Kittle because they're all going in the first 4 rounds.
And I think he's as talented as some of those guys. I think it's just situation.
What round are you willing to take Engram in?
I've been getting him in 6 or 7.
All right.
And I already have a good running back or wide receiver core at that point. So it's like I can either continue to add depth, get an elite quarterback, or finally get a potential top 5 tight end to make my starters advantageous over another team, most likely. So, yeah.
What round were you willing to take Marlon Mack in?
The 4th.
Ooh, is he going that late, though?
I think it's like top of the 4th area. It depends on who's going ahead.
I have Carryon Johnson ahead of him. There are some other wide receiver targets that I'd have ahead, but 4th round is where I would begin to look for him. To be honest, if he's not there, it's not there. Yeah. You know, but that's like you said. You stay true to your board, and if you think that he's valued at a 4th rounder and he'd be good value there, but somebody says, "Hey, no, I've loved Marlon Mack my whole life. I'm going to draft him in the 1st round." Fine, go ahead, do your thing. It's not going to make me panic.
or that one person in your league who doesn't show up on draft day.
And the auto pick
just ruins everything.
I hate it.
Yeah, we've had that a few times in a couple of leagues, and that's always like the guy who should be falling, and you took him.
Yeah, without even knowing who he was.
Damn auto pick. All right, so I got one that's a kind of more of a sleeper guy, but it's Darwin Thompson on the Kansas City Chiefs, and he's going late, and I like him already better than Carlos Hyde, and I don't think Damien Williams is that much of that great of a player where he is totally insurmountable, and he's just never had a full control over an offense. So I don't know. I think Andy Reid might go ahead and take this player who, he's gotten some preseason hype a little bit, but also it reminds me a lot of the year Kareem Hunt came out. Mm-hmm. Spencer Ware was still on the team and he got injured. Had Spencer Ware. And also keep in mind, Darwin Thompson's going late. He's going double-digit rounds. So you're just taking a flyer.
Yeah.
It's you stick him on your bench and see what happens. You're not drafting him to be a starter. He can catch out of the backfield. He's a bit more solid. Again, actually kind of reminds me of a discount Kareem Hunt. And they seem to just do this a lot of the time anyways. They take running backs and they turn them into something.
Yeah.
So with Damian Williams, if Damian Williams doesn't end up being the guy, and there's just certain things Damian Williams doesn't do particularly great. And they have both. They have a Darrell Williams as well.
Donnell Williams or whatever his name is.
They also got Robin Williams as well.
Yeah.
Jesus.
And so I think as far as everybody loves the Kansas City Chiefs offense, that's a guy I'd take a flyer on. I'm targeting him in every draft I can just because it's listen, if he ends up being something, you might just win your league with an extra RB1 or at least high end RB2.
I agree with that. No arguments here. I'm staying away from rookie running back, so go ahead. But
Entirely. Just no rookies.
No.
The no rookie league.
No.
All
And
rookie
I have
tight
to.
ends.
I have to live up to that too. If Josh Jacobs becomes week 1, he has 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. I can't pick him up on the waiver wire. I'm saying that right now. I won't do it.
He won't be on the waiver wire. He's getting drafted in second round.
Well, I'm not drafting him.
No, I'm not either.
If this guy goes for 200 yards in the week 1, I'm not picking him up.
So you guys have any more?
Austin Ekeler for the Chargers.
Oh, all right.
Just because
Wojo hates him.
He's a good pass catcher. He can run the ball when he needs to. Yeah,
He runs hard.
Mm-hmm.
I
He's
like him.
small. Jackson is going to take runs from him, but Gordon's not going to be there. Ekeler proved when Gordon was absent last year that he can get you some fantasy points. So I'm just going to.
He helped me a lot.
Oh yeah, me too. I picked him up, and in DraftKings he's cheap. So I'm just going to keep it short for that because we're running long.
Yeah.
Opportunity, and he can capitalize on it.
I'll just end with Sam Darnold. He's looking
Darnold.
real. He's looking real. I think he takes the next step.
Awesome.
And then I have just one more. Valdez-Scantling, very late round, wide receiver 2 out of Green Bay. Devontae Adams is going to get all the elite coverage because he is an insane wide receiver. And Valdez-Scantling, I feel like, is better than Geronimo Allison and will get a lot of targets his way.
In case you have a 30 wide receiver league, Tanner McAvoy. Look out for him.
I like Marquez Scantling. He showed up at the end of last year very well for Green Bay, and like we were saying before, good offenses, good players, good quarterbacks. You kind of want to take guys who are attached to them, and the wide receiver 2 on Green Bay is very valuable. And you're probably not spending a lot to get MVS.
No, you could get him late.
So,
No thoughts on McAvoy?
and Tanner McAvoy. I mean, yeah, if you're in a special teams league,
I'm
sure.
just saying, 1 for 1 this year with a touchdown, 27 yards.
And did you say you had red flags as well, or guys you want to avoid completely?
Yes. If you want to do that, you want to do that now?
Yeah, we'll do that now. We'll just split them later.
Okay. So you just kind of touched on him when you brought up Thompson from Kansas City. I'm staying away from Damian Williams. Yeah. This guy's going in the first 4 rounds, which is absurd, and it's only because of how it's that recency bias because of how good he looked at the end of last year. That was because he was on an already high-flying offense, all right, where it was completely worried about Mahomes. Nobody believed in him, and he capitalized on it. Is he going to have moments where he looks good this year? Yes, but he's never got more than 13 rushes a game ever, especially in Miami where he was awful. And then Andy Reid's already come out and said that it's going to be a running back by committee, which is the worst thing you want to hear in terms of fantasy. And he's just somebody I'm not willing to spend a top 4 pick on somebody who doesn't get the volume and is gonna be in a split carry system. I don't want anything to do with it. For sure.
I get that. I totally understand that. I don't think I'm taking him given where he's going. I could see somebody take him in like a round later if you need an RB2 and you're in that spot of, well, all the good ones are gone or all the ones that have that top 5 upside. But the way I kind of do my split, it goes like the top 15 guys and then the wide receiver ones and then even goes into the wide receiver twos a bit. So with Damian Williams, he fits that scheme really well, and they seem to, and like you were saying before, that offense was crazy good last year. I almost would have him ahead of Marlon Mack because he's going to be in a timeshare too with Nyheim Hines, and they even stuck in Jordan Wilkins at points. Like they rotate guys out, so I'd have him in that same category of Chris Carson, Marlon Mack, and Damian Williams. I don't see why, particularly, I like one over the others.
I just think Mac's a better player. I think when it comes down to it, you take all that scheme and all that stuff away from it. I know it's important, but if you were to line those guys up and say, you're playing pickup football in the backyard.
Issues.
What?
Mac has some major vision issues sometimes.
I think it's a lot better. No, I disagree. I think his vision's good. I do like his vision. I've seen him. I mean, I think he's definitely, that was the area he needed to improve over the past couple years more so than everything else. But if I'm lining these guys up, I'm like, okay, I want you. It's not even close. You know what I mean? The other guys, the right fit is what really matters to them. I think that Marlon Mack can succeed if you just give him the ball and give him enough chances. I think he's that caliber of athletic specimen.
For my red flag, it's Kyler Murray. He's going way too early. He's going top 10. He's going ahead of Russell Wilson, which, like...
Is he?
Yeah, he was going ahead of Russell Wilson in a lot of drafts. And think about it like this. Like, I think it's like the mystery box, like from Family Guy, where it's like, it could be... or was it the Family Guy had the episode where he's on the game show, and it's like, oh, you want a boat? Or you could have the mystery box. And he's like, oh, the mystery box could be anything. It could even be a boat. It's like, Kyler Murray could be anything. He could even be Russell Wilson. Like, you already have Russell Wilson. Yeah. And Kyler Murray, the other issue with Kyler Murray is Cliff Kingsbury's never been an offensive coordinator in the NFL.
Right.
He's never been a head coach in the NFL. And we saw it this week in the preseason where Kyler Murray's throwing out, gets a safety in the end zone because there's no hot reads in that offense.
He went 3 for 9 with 12 yards.
And I don't even necessarily want to overvalue what goes on in the preseason because there have been guys who... Deshaun Watson didn't do amazing in the preseason his first year, and then he ended up being a good player in the real season. And I think the issue here is I'm more worried about Cliff Kingsbury because there was when he went ahead and had that safety, there were no hot reads. There was nobody in there blocking. There was no extra backs in the block. It's kind of like it was a spread route, but all of them were doing deep routes. They didn't have anybody to throw to if he was getting blitzed. So I feel more worried about Kingsbury being a head coach than I do about Kyler Murray being in the NFL.
All valid points.
And you have anybody you're avoiding?
Yeah, the red flag's a little harsh. I'm not going to say avoid him altogether.
Yeah.
And maybe this is because I'm biased. I'm sort of defending him while I'm shitting on him. But I'm not going to draft Phillip Lindsay. And I think... One, it has more to do with, I think Royce Freeman's really looking good. And he was looking good last year. I think he's a more complete runner. I mean, look, the size thing, it does matter a little bit, in terms of durability and all this other stuff. I like Lindsay's mentality. I think he's still a top player. I think there's other factors that make me want to look at other running backs. Maybe one of those is Freeman. You know what I mean? That maybe he has the better year. We've seen that happen before where somebody who's supposed to be the guy and then, the training camp battles, things just go a different way. The running back guy committee, they'll feed the hot hand. That's what seems to be their offensive strategy as opposed to a true running back by committee where they're splitting time. They kind of just roll with whoever pops first. And in many cases, that might be Royce Freeman right off the bat. And in terms of goal line carries and all those things, I think, I don't know. That's the reason I'm a little cold on Phillip Lindsay repeating what he did last year.
Yeah, and I like that.
They also have Theo
line.
Riddick in the mix.
I think they've
He's hurt now.
Yeah, but I just okay.
I like that offensive line. They've added more to it, and they also got Mike Munchak, who is a big reason why the Steelers had a good offensive line. So I think there's a reason to like the Denver running backs, but to what you said, they have Royce Freeman.
Right.
You might get a step forward, and if Royce Freeman's going 2 rounds later than Phillip Lindsay, why not take the guy who's going 2 rounds later?
Yeah.
And take the cheaper guy.
Right.
So I totally agree with that. I think that wraps up this episode. If you want to check out the podcast, you can follow it at Draftvice on Twitter, at Draftvice_football on Instagram. You can follow Shane at THEE_Shane_MCM on Instagram. Ricky, this is always happens every time.
I'm dark. I go dark. Don't worry about it.
You could send him a carrier pigeon.
Yeah, you could try. Send Paul Revere down the river, see if it gets to me.
It might find him. And you follow me at Brojo Death Punch. It's BROJO. Death is in the end of life. And Punch. Yay. And if you're listening to this on iTunes, subscribe, rate, leave a review, preferably 5 stars. Just a suggestion. And if you're watching it on YouTube, like it, subscribe it, leave a comment. Maybe we'll read it. Maybe we'll read it on the air. We won't. We might. We absolutely can.
We should.
Good night.
When I woke up this morning, I was feeling pretty dangerous.
About the past and about the future.